Hello, everybody, and welcome to with my co-host Sam. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Josh. How are we doing?
I'm all right. We're also joined by two very, very special guests. We've got Filipa and Maria. Maria, you're back again. Hello.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for having me back. Very excited to be here again.
Yeah, and welcome, Filipa.
Hello, everyone. Happy to be here as well.
So we've got a very important topic to talk about today, which is all about inclusion and sort of women in the space of Magic the Gathering. But before we move on to sort of the more further intros and how the podcast is going to lay out, Sam, you've got a little message for us, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm a little offended, Josh. You usually ask me what I do with my time outside of the Magic Sphere.
Okay.
And this week I've been playing Resident Evil 9. Not sure
Okay.
if you've heard of it. Yeah,
I've heard of Resident Evil 9.
Yeah, we went on a rant a while ago and I was trying to do a lot of Resident Evil stuff. But one thing I've learned is if you want to protect your cards from evil, the best place to do it is from our wonderful sponsors over at UltraPRO. They provide a good line of everything you need, really, from card protectors to binders, whatever else. Me and Josh have been, and the rest of the Chad team, to be fair, have been using their Apex sleeves, which are just pretty art sleeves with good shuffle, which is essentially what people like me and Josh need. I'm especially a big fan of their...
I've got Bob Ross on my desk right now.
Yeah, the Bob Ross line is really nice, but I quite like their Elder Scrolls Oblivion stuff they're doing at the minute. And then fingers crossed, maybe one day Resident Evil as well.
Hopefully, yeah.
Was that smooth enough?
I think so. That was a very smooth transition.
Thanks.
So, Maria, you were on our podcast last week when we were on with Myra, and it was a very good podcast. I really enjoyed that one. But we have a new guest with us today, which is Filipa. You're a first-time battle chadder. So, I just want to ask. I just want to get to know. I want you to get to know you a little bit more, and also the listeners probably do. Tell us a bit about yourself, Filipa. When did you start playing Magic? What set?
I've been playing Magic since 2013. I started with M14 and the Tyros block, the original one.
Yeah.
I really had a lot of fun back then. Journey into Nyx. I started drafting a lot, playing all the pre-releases. Then in 2018, I got a bit more serious about Magic. Then I started to go into some GPs, trying to grind. Then COVID happened, and with COVID, I just started making content creation. I started streaming on Twitch. Then events just resumed back. I started casting the regional championships, and now I'm on the coverage team for the European Regional Championships, and that's what I've been up to with Magic.
So you and Maria are quite entrenched content creators, casters. Sorry, my voice is going off. I spent in work. I've been shouting a lot, so my voice is going. So you two have a sort of similar presence in the sort of Magic space. You've well known names. And I think the topic we're going to talk about now, you two are the perfect sort of pair for that. And you agreed. We had that conversation last week, Maria, about the subject, and you quickly got onto for little Filipa, and she was more than happy to come on, and we're thrilled to have you, me and Sam. So this podcast is going to be about inclusion, particularly looking from the standpoint of a woman in Magic, and how how the blokes can essentially be more inclusive and be more welcoming in that sort of space. Happy with that sort of how the subject. Anyone want to elaborate more on that?
Sounds good.
I did a good job. Excellent. And so how?
Yeah, that was perfect.
Thank you. So me and Sam had this conversation because it's something Sam, we and you wanted to cover for quite a while. Would you agree?
Yeah, for sure.
But it's how do two blokes sat on a podcast? It's that meme of what do blokes do when they're bored? They make a podcast kind of thing. So how do two blokes come and address that subject? That is a really important subject, and we couldn't really have the answer. And basically, what we came up with is, well, instead of being raising these issues and talking about as we would men, why don't we use Battle Chads as a platform to pass over to two co-hosts who are women to talk about that issues? And Filipa and Maria have kindly agreed to do that. So that's how we're going to do. So we're going to, Sam, you've got a little bit to say in a second, but we're going to almost pass the reins off of the Battle Chat reins to Maria and Filipa to sort of take us through their experience, their journey, and hopefully we'll come to a sort of positive conclusion how everyone can be more inclusive and be overall have a better, everyone can have a better experience of the game we love, essentially. So Sam, do you want to take over?
Yeah, firstly, very well timed point to lose your voice, Josh, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, I think so.
You know, we're luckily actually almost like the guests this week, so
Yeah.
perfect timing, Josh. Well done. Yeah, I think we obviously, whenever we do topics, we discuss them in advance, make sure they, you know, we have the right people to talk about them, and that me and Josh know or have experience about them. And I think that, to me, since it's mad to think, Josh, I wasn't originally on this podcast.
No.
Because, you know, now it's quite much a me and you thing. But, you know, I always seen this as a community podcast.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is just another community aspect of Magic the Gathering.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we say it's said all the time, but it's the gathering bit that's important.
Yeah.
And that gathering includes everyone. I think that as a community podcast, it's a topic that's definitely should be discussed.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, we've said this a little bit, but I feel very lucky to have a platform to be able to have wonderful guests on and discuss a topic like this. So, yeah.
Excellent. So we're going to pass it over to Maria and Filipa. We sort of broke down the podcast into sort of 4 sections. So the first section we're going to talk or what we want to sort of get from yourselves is the importance of inclusion and why we want everyone to be welcomed when it comes to Magic.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, thank you guys. I was so happy to learn that you had this very idea from basically the beginning, right?
Yeah,
as
we
you
had a long
told me.
time, yeah.
Because this topic is very like close to my heart. I mean, it's very personal.
Of course, yeah.
Obviously, because I'm a woman in this male-dominated Magic the Gathering space, competitive space, obviously.
Yeah.
So, yeah, appreciate you for providing the platform to spread awareness, to talk about it.
It's a pleasure.
So, yeah. I don't know, Filipa, shall we start since the reins are ours, right?
Of course, I can start by sharing a bit of my experience. Thank you for inviting me. I think that's a very interesting topic, as Maria said, very close to our hearts. And I think this is a good opportunity for us to maybe share just a bit of our experience. We cannot talk about all the women out there and their experiences. Everyone has different experiences playing Magic the Gathering. They all come from different backgrounds. Every local game store is different, and I experience a lot of different ones. So I just want to like share kind of the barriers that I had into getting to more maybe competitive Magic, so people can also try to understand and maybe just try to know how to integrate better when a woman comes into local game store, and just maybe for them they also don't know what to do. So just to get our opinion out there and our experience, I can start. When I started playing Magic back in 2013, so that was 13 years ago, a long time ago. I'm getting old, but I started as like a broke college student. I went to my local game store, and at the time, I think the experience is a bit different than what I see today. So I also see a big evolution on women getting maybe more integrated into Magic the Gathering. Also, more women are playing, so people are accepting it more and starting to understand more that women also like to play Magic the Gathering because it's a very interesting game. I was hooked from the beginning, especially limited. I love playing draft, sealed, pre-releases, like everything limited I really love. And when I started playing, honestly, I had a good experience. I was playing at my local game store. Everyone was nice. I didn't have a lot of problems. But then I started going to other local game stores where sometimes I would just get some comments like, "Oh no, I cannot believe I just lost to a woman," or somebody like, "Oh, you just lost to a woman," and they laugh at them. So I think it's more like these snarky, jokey comments that maybe make us feel a bit uncomfortable. Like, why wouldn't you lose for me? Like, I play as well as other person that is starting like I am, or is that my level? And you wouldn't say that if it's another guy. So I think for me, especially in the beginning, it was mainly about the comments that people would do innocently, and I'm not blaming them. I think they just didn't know better, and that they didn't think of what I was thinking. They were just joking around with their friends. And I don't know, Maria, if you had a similar experience as well.
Yes, well, I started playing Magic in 2008. Like way
you're the veteran here, I think.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to talk about my age. I'm ageless. So, like, a long time ago. And of course, the community has changed, and I can say for the better. So, because back then, Magic the Gathering was almost a part of a subculture, you know?
Hmm.
So all the LGSs, they were like full of nerds. But I am also a nerd, but the thing is that I don't look like one, you know?
Hmm.
And also, like, not only I was a woman, I still am, by the way.
That's good.
But back then,
That's good.
yeah, I was just, you know, I looked like a normal, like, good-looking girl back then.
Yeah.
So in a club full of, this man, basically, I don't know how to, it was a subculture, you know, how else
Yeah.
I can describe it. Yeah. So of course I was an insider. I was a sort of innovator to their space, and for me it was difficult, you know, because I really like the game. I was not good at it, of course. I was looking for someone who could teach me, who could, you know, accept me into their space, into their friend group. And at the beginning it was not so easy, but of course I was very persistent. I just loved the game, and I just wanted to play it and to get better. And of course, eventually, I became a part of community. I found friends, and yeah.
From that story, I always imagine like you walk in and there's like a room full of sweaty nerds, and it's like, what's that? Like,
You're like, oh.
so Philippa, I just got a question about your sort of experience, because you said you really like limited. So
Yes,
I guess
I love limited.
drafting is one of those things where you've got to feel included, right? Because you sat around a group of people and you're drafting together, trying to beat each other, but also working together, you know, passing cards, all that good stuff. And was that sort of like, was that part of the game? Did you feel welcome there, or was that sort of like a unique experience to yourself?
Well, I think I got really lucky, as I said, with my first local game store. And here it comes to individual experiences, where my first local game store, it was like in a student city. The store owner, I still know him to this day, is a very nice guy. And they just like were really nice to me. Like, I remember even like sometimes they would pass me like some rares, and I'd be like, why are they passing rares? This is worth some money. And I was so broken. I was like, oh my God, they're passing this land. It's like €3 and they're passing it. They're so nice. And then in the end, they would be like, Filipa, you're new. Do you want like the bulk, the commons and uncommons? And I'll be like, why are you doing that? That's so nice. And now I do that to other players, and I don't even think about it because I don't want bulk, of course. But at the beginning, I just thought everyone was so nice. And I remember even like, as I said, I didn't have a lot of money. I was a student, and sometimes I wanted to draft and I didn't have the money. And there was one occasion, there was like an event, and the store owner was like, oh, you're just seeing today? And I'm like, yeah, I'm not playing. I didn't say it was because of money, but I think he understood, because it was like, hey, we need a 8-person. Do you want to join anyway? Like, we'll pay for your draft. You don't have to pay anything. Like, just if you can make us the favor. And they were just like very nice like that. So I actually have a very positive experience from my first local game store. And I was not like playing super frequently in the beginning. I think I got more serious in 2018. And I think maybe when I started to want to get more serious, it was when the barriers started showing up, because when you just go once in a while to play a draft and you don't really build a sense of community, you're just playing the game, it's okay. But then when actually like you want to start going to GPs and you have to test with other people, and you start seeing that maybe there's a group that you're not included in, or it's more difficult for you to get in this group. And I think here is where the barriers and the difference starts to appear.
Right.
And when you also get better at the game, because when you get better is when you start winning. When you start winning, sometimes it's when you get the snarky comments. So my beginning experience was really good, actually.
Yeah, competition kicks in.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess when they do different experiences. So from you, Filipa, you had a positive experience, which then sort of developed as you got better at the game into like a bit more negative one. For you, Maria, it was sort of like a bit weird from the get go, right?
Yeah, it was.
So
yeah, it was kind of awkward, you know. But yeah, it kind of quickly progressed. So like I found some friends, but I agree with Filipa. So for me, it was really difficult to progress in the game because nobody took me seriously, and then nobody wanted to I don't know, to test with me, to invest their time, to make me better in the game, even though I was very openly passionate about it and how I wanted to get better. But it's just I didn't have that support system
Do you
at
think?
the beginning.
Do you think there's like with I guess with men and magic, I think there's more like a transactional relationship with men, and want to be that like if I play with you, I will get better or get something out of it. But then there's almost, oh, why would I play with a woman? Because I'm not going to get anything out of it because I'm just going to beat her and then move on, kind of thing. Do you think that as a sort of factor in that experience? Do you think?
I think there was a part of it for sure, because I mean, if you're not friends with somebody, like why would you do that, right? Like first off, but yeah, then even when I had like an established group of friends, still I felt like I was undervalued. You know, like
Yeah.
people would casually play with me at the tournaments, like I was, well, again, I was not taken seriously. And if I was winning, then people started getting annoyed with me, you know, and I was like, what the heck? So I was just naturally getting better. Then, like, luckily, finally, I found a couple of friends who actually saw that in me and who indeed invested time to make my gameplay better, and I'm going to be forever grateful to them. And later on, of course, I'm just going to throw it out here. Shout out to my husband, because my husband is a multiple Pro Tour player, actually. And he also helped me a lot. And I learned a lot from him. But at the beginning, yeah, it was, you know, it was kind of a toxic environment in a sense that, you know, I had that fire lit within me, so I have to prove them wrong. And I feel like, in essence, it is like, it is quite toxic, and it leads to some bad traits. So at some point, I was like a very unpleasant opponent. I was so ruthless, you know. I was like intentionally trying to piss off my opponents.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, going to that extreme.
That's interesting. So your negative experience almost then made you be a bit more negative.
Yeah, totally.
There's
Yeah.
something. I mean, a part of my work, I'm sort of like, without going too much detail, in education in my work, and one of the things we sort of cover is Batari's box, which is my attitude will affect my behavior. My behavior will affect your attitude, and your attitude will affect your behavior, and then that's that horrible cycle that of negativity.
Yeah.
So it takes that someone to break that, which what you said I found quite interesting. Just on what you've said and your experience, if you felt included, like, you know, there wasn't those issues that you've already expressed in your initial experience, do you think then it would have welcomed more females into that sort of environment? Do you think there's been females put off for ever going back? And also, would you ever have brought your friends, for example, who are females, to that environment?
I think so. Yeah. There were few women, but like basically there were 3 of us, and I was like the only one who was pushing the limits, trying to be as competitive as I could. Another girl also like ended up being quite successful, I would say, and with the third one, so to speak, we became very close friends. Her boyfriend back in the day, he was playing Magic like on a competitive level, let's say. He qualified to the Pro Tour. But, you know, she was playing still, but she was always considered as a girlfriend of that guy, you know?
Yeah.
Not like a unit of her own, you know? She was like this appendix to him, and it always pissed me off, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think that there's realistically quite a good. It's so weird, and obviously we're all competitive players, have played competitively, and one thing I've noticed, like, as I've gone across that journey of my own, is like when you're playing super competitive events, the losses are almost swallowed easier by other people. You know, like, yep, Cool. Move on. Quick chat. Move on to the next round, really, because there's always another round of Magic to be playing. It really is much more the LGS level. I think that people put a lot of personal value into the concept of being able to win a game of Magic. And obviously, if you've had a rubbish week and you lose and then whatever else, that can really put you in like a salty space.
Yeah.
But I think that it's how you mentioned it before, Maria, that you're almost an invader into that space. You know, that was their bubble and you were like invading that space. I think that's a really interesting way of saying it, because I think that people can be a lot more toxic than they actually realize and not as welcoming as they think they are in hindsight. You know, in retrospect, in hindsight, you know, a lot of people would probably encounter things, you know, in a different way. But having had that experience, do you have any almost advice for people to how they can make an LGS a much more welcoming area? Because to be fair as well, LGSs are usually quite constrained, quite small. And I think that people can realize they're being quite rude without intending to be. But from somebody who's experienced that, would you have any advice for somebody who wants to create a welcoming environment?
Sure. I think it mostly depends on a store owner. So store owner actually dictates like the whole environment. So the store owner basically runs the show. And as far as community goes, so I'm just thinking that like now I'm thinking about my current LGSs. And so by the way, shout out to Bibi Spiele in Rosenheim. Like you guys.
I couldn't even pronounce that. Shout out.
Yeah, you guys are doing a very good job. So it's very good space. And the community, you know, I feel like the guys, I mean, because mostly the guys are playing still. They're pretty chill, you know. Maybe it's just thanks to the owner, I don't know, or the time has changed, you know. Also because like, I don't know, maybe when somebody plays against me, they now quickly realize that, you know, they have to take me serious, so they have to like play at their fullest against me. I don't know, like things have definitely changed, but main advice is again, just be open, be kind, do not assume anything, you know. Let's just, you know, if you see somebody, no matter gender, no matter like how a person looks like, if you feel like, or if you see them being lost, or, you know, just start a conversation. It's just, you know, it is as simple as that. Just say hi, how are you?
Is that sort of your take as well, Filipa? Or would you maybe have a different approach to it? You know, does it start with the LGS owner?
Yeah, I completely agree. I had very good experiences in Portugal. Even an example, I had like these in Portugal, they did the nationals, where it's a thing organized with the stores in Portugal, and I was the only girl to qualify for the nationals. You would have to qualify for it. And champion in Portuguese has a different name if it's female or male, and they made the trophies with both just in case I won. I did not win, but the fact that they did this was awesome, and I just have a lot of good experiences where store owners really helped. Like even when somebody makes a snarky comment, like that's not okay, you know, and people stop. I was very blessed. Like I also had negative experiences, but I will say mostly they were positive and they encouraged me to become better at Magic. And I just give the advice that when I play the pre-release, I play against someone and I can see their level by the way they're playing or the questions that they're making. And I assess where I explain them based on what they're giving me. So if it's a new player and they state, I'm a new player, usually they do that. They say, I'm sorry, I don't know very well. I'm just new here. And then I can explain them. And a lot of times I help people beat myself at pre-release, and then I lose against someone that doesn't know much about the game, but it's a pre-release. That's the goal. We are not an RCQ or an RC. It's okay. You know, I'm not going to trick my opponent into attacking because they don't know this or that, or how first strike works with that touch and so on. So basically, my advice is what Maria said. It's don't assume, just go play against the player. If they are new, usually they're going to tell you, like, I'm new, I don't know much about the game. And you can just go in and if it's a girl, like, don't just assume she's not a good player because she's a girl or she hasn't played before. She will let you know if she doesn't know, the same way that a guy will let you know if he doesn't know and he feels unsure. And I think just don't man explain the rules if she doesn't ask for your help, or if she doesn't tell you, like, I'm new, I don't know, or if it doesn't show you clear signs that she's new to the game. That's what I would say. The same thing that you do to a man, basically.
Yeah, honestly.
So treat everyone the same, essentially, is the best way to
Just
go
be a
about it.
normal human, you know, just be normal.
Just be a human being. Just be a normal human. So if you're okay with it, I just want to delve more into like your unique experiences that that you, as a bloke, I would have never thought of. As a man, I would never have thought of. Can you just tell me about your? So we've talked about the LGS level and it's more the little gritty bits of not being inclusive is at that level, but how do you experience being a woman going from the LGS level all the way up to a pro level? Like, how does your experience differ? Particularly, telling the blokes, like, stuff that we never even would have thought of.
Yeah, I can start. I can share a bit of my experience. I never made it to the Pro Tour. It's still a dream of mine, but unfortunately, after
Same.
COVID, I immediately went on to casting the regional championships. So I think I've casted all regional championships except for one that I played and I didn't do well. So that kind of puts me away. But before that, I was actually trying really hard in 2019 before COVID. And I was doing a lot of PTQs, Grand Prix, and so on. And I remember in a Pro Tour qualifier, it was like 300 something players, and I was 5-0 at a big GP. It was like a Pro Tour qualifier that was happened separately in these Magic Fests, I think at the time were called.
Yeah.
And I remember like comments that were like friends of mine or people that I knew from Portugal that were commenting to their friends, oh, she's playing the same tournament as you and she's doing better than you. Right now she's 3-0 and you're 2-1. Look at that. She's doing better than you. Like, it's so impressive that I'm doing better, which I understand, maybe because at the time I was not like, they didn't know me that well, but it felt like it's because I'm a girl. They were like, look at you doing worse than this girl that just started playing or something like this. So yeah, I feel like when you go more to competitive level, people start getting a bit maybe more impressed. And like, maybe that's when they start taking you more seriously, but in the beginning you're going to hear some snarky comments. I think that's normal. And yeah, I think that's
it shouldn't be normal
mainly...
though, right? It shouldn't be normal.
Yeah, another thing about entering the competitive sphere is that you also so when you're at the local game store, they know your level of play, right? They already know you. You go there several times. When you go to a GP, when you go to a Pro Tour qualifier, a lot of times your opponents do not know you. So because of that, that's when you go more into assumptions or into some weird ways to talking to you, sometimes trying to understand if you're single, stuff like that. That is a bit inappropriate,
Hey,
I think.
you got a man around? Or...
Yeah, it's like, is your boyfriend playing as well?
Yeah, very
was your
smooth.
boyfriend that brought you here? Like, are you lost?
Yeah, honestly, yeah, I totally agree. Also, yeah, all those weird comments that you just randomly face, but also, like, as a woman, it is quite naturally to feel like a curiosity of some sort. You attract a lot of attention at your local level and then at a GP as well. Because I also played a lot of GPs, like made day 2 once.
Nice.
But yeah, like mostly at those big events when people do not know you. And GPs, they were open events, so it is like Spotlight Series right now. So anyone can join, and obviously there were people of all levels, and culture too.
Yeah.
So of course, same as Filipa, I faced a lot of those weird comments. And
does it, in fact, I'm not going to go into that, but what about because you're part of Team Heavy Play, right? how have you found? Because Team Heavy plays it is quite diverse as much as sort of Magic could be or is essentially. But how have you found being a woman in terms of the process of testing houses, working with predominantly males, all that good stuff? How have you found that sort of journey, that process?
So about testing house, it is something that I'm yet to experience, but I'm looking forward to it. So we'll see how we will actually organize that, whether I'm going to live with the guys or not. But it can be also quite a sensitive subject. But right now I feel quite comfortable with the people that I know within the team. I trust them. They're all like very good guys, and I can tell that at this highest pro level, there is no gender discrimination. So people were taking me seriously, like 100%. They were testing with me. Like I was just, as any other member of the team. And even though I've just recently joined it, this past season has like genuinely been amazing. And in a sense, also eye-opening if we look at this particular subject, of women in competitive Magic, because I don't know, I feel like we as women, we need more representation, like 100%, and we want to see more women and people of marginalized genders in top 8s, like on every level. We don't see that enough, simply because not a lot of women are playing Magic. It's not because women are bad or are not as good as men in playing Magic. It's just there are simply more men playing the game than the women.
It's rules of averages, right? If you have a room of 100 people and 10 of those are females and 90 of them are males, and you got to break them down into top 8, there's probably going to be a higher representation of males in the top 8 just through the laws of not because necessarily the women that they're better than the women. That's just the averages, right? This is an RNG game at the end of the day.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you've got more representation on one side, the chances are that's what the top 8's going to look like. But if you had like 50-50 split, then it'd be hopefully a varied, potentially even all female top 8. The chances are there, but it's just the rule of average, rules of numbers, right?
Yeah, exactly. Totally. So yeah, I'm happy to confirm that there is like no gender discrimination at this level. But as a woman, you have to get there first, right? So you have to like go through all of these stages to like work twice as hard. You have to like prove your point, to just make connections, to make friends, to make like meaningful, good friends that are willing to help you improve. And for women, it's not as easy as for an average guy, I would say.
I absolutely agree with you, Maria. I really got inspired, for example, when Autumn won one of the championships. I don't remember, it was like 2019 maybe,
It was the first
around
one.
that era.
First Mythic Championship, Autumn one.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I remember it was when I was starting getting a bit more competitive, and I really got inspired. Also, at the time when I started playing GPs, there was a girl at my local game store that was already playing GPs, which made people invite me, I think, much more easier and accept me much more easier, because the barrier had been broken before, which facilitated my way into playing these kind of events. So, as Maria said, I think it's really important for us to see like, oh, actually there's people from marginalized genders within the Magic community making it. And these days I know Nicole Tipple is inspiring a lot of people as well into playing more competitive Magic. Like, so I think, as Maria said, that's really, really important. And I think more and more girls and women and people of marginalized genders within the Magic community will start playing and want to play more on competitive level.
I just want to say that that Mythic Championship, the first Mythic Championship, because as Josh said, I think it was the first one. Is that right?
Yeah.
So like I watched Magic coverage every single event back in the day when I was at uni. It was like my background noise and my white noise while I studied. It was like the old SCG tour and stuff, which were like, cool talent in the background. But that event where Autumn won was massively inspiring for me as well, interestingly enough, because like I was so used to seeing Americans play on the pro circuit and at the pro tour, and Autumn, was somebody in my local scene. So it was really cool and very inspiring to watch Autumn win that event.
Yeah, we see Autumn quite a lot, don't we? In Axiom
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely lovely person, but it was so cool that time just to see somebody, local to me, and not really local, like, on the same big rock, essentially, watching Autumn in that event was really inspiring.
Do you know what I was more excited about when Autumn winning? The
blue
Brits.
deck.
The Brits took it home. The Brits
No,
got
I mean,
win.
like,
That's what I was excited about.
That's what I mean. Like, I
Team
think
UK,
it was the first.
yes.
I think it was the first big event that I saw somebody from Britain win. You know, and that was sort of a thing for me. Like, oh well, you can do it as well. I'm yet to win a pro tour. I'll get there at some point.
Yeah, it's on your to-do list.
Yeah, it's on my to-do list for sure. I just I'm sorry to like bring it back up, but I just can't get over the idea of comments at a Magic table. That's crazy to me. Like, just weird comments.
It's actually really interesting, Sam, because you're a judge, aren't you?
Yeah.
So you've dealt with this sort of stuff, right?
I haven't dealt with this sort of stuff. No. I've never been in a situation where somebody's reported something to me that's made them feel uncomfortable or is completely inappropriate. What I would say, and obviously, please, Maria, Filipa, please add to this, but at a minimum, there is an element of Magic that's or judges can help with that's not about the cards or the game state or the rules. If somebody's making you feel uncomfortable, call a judge. At a minimum, please do that.
It took me a long time to feel comfortable calling a judge because I didn't want to be the girl that calls a judge and then the judge agrees with me and people say the judge agreed with her because it's a girl and they don't want to make her feel uncomfortable, and to have that bias, because being a girl has the two sides of the coin. You have people that are going to treat you worse, but you also have people that are going to treat you better, to give you the benefit of the doubt because you're a girl, that they don't want to like tell you that you did something wrong because you're a girl, and they don't want to be the guys to call the judge and to be like, this girl is trying to cheat on me. So like I was always so careful because I didn't want to make mistakes. I didn't want to like do anything wrong. I was like always trying to do my best to avoid calling a judge because I felt like afraid of this situation. The only time I had like at the GP a judge come by because I made a mistake, it was because I had a Fable passage I cracked, and instead of going through my deck to find a land, I went through my opponent's deck, and then I was like, oops, this is not my deck. But to be fair, they were using purple sleeves and I always wear purple sleeves, so
it's just like a dexterity problem. That's just like that can happen to anyone, surely.
Yeah, that was not a big problem, but I was always like, afraid to call a judge. And then I understood, okay, judges are here to help. But now I'm always asking, like, even if my opponent is like, oh, you're probably right, I'm like, no, let's call a judge. Let's make sure. I also want to be 100% sure. And like now I see judges as much more someone that is just there to help us with the rulings, and which is what a judge is, to be fair. So
yeah, but to be honest, at the beginning, I didn't even know that you could call a judge if you are feeling uncomfortable, So that is actually a very good point, and also a way to spread awareness. Like, girls, if you're feeling uncomfortable, or like honestly, like anybody, right? If you're feeling uncomfortable about your opponent saying something to you, just you can of course say it to him first politely, but if they don't stop, just call a judge.
Yeah, for sure.
Time. I was just going to tell an experience that one time it was like in Brussels, I was playing PTQ with my standard deck and I was 4-0. So it was like I'm almost getting into top 8. And then I felt like my opponent was talking in a way that they were prompting me to make a mistake and to be like, haha, I catched you in this mistake. I don't know how to explain, but it was a feeling like the way that they were talking, and they were not doing anything wrong. It was not like even talking. It was like they were just like the way that I was just not feeling very comfortable. I don't know how to explain.
Like angle shooting, almost.
Yeah, maybe like angled shooting was the right thing. And at the time I was just like, okay, this is a very important game. is it okay if I call a judge? And the guy was like, okay, sure. And I was like, I called the judge and I was like, I'm just want you to be here to watch the game because I'm not feeling comfortable.
Okay.
And I just want you to be here. That's it. I don't need you to help me play the game. I just need you to be here to see if something is happened that it shouldn't be happening. And the judge like, okay, no problem. And the judge watched the rest of the game and I won the game.
Nice.
And it was a very difficult one, but I have a feeling that maybe if I didn't call the judge, I would not have won the game because I was not like super confident that if my opponent got me through an angled shooting, I would have been like, no, it doesn't work like that, because I was maybe not so confident. And definitely this is when I realized, okay, you know what? I felt uncomfortable calling the judge, but in the end of the day, the judge didn't even need to do anything. He was just there. He made me feel more confident that things were being played properly. And it was like a really helpful, because I was very nervous at that point of the tournament. And yeah, then I ended up going 5-0, drew the last one on table 1 and got 9th place. So I drew into a 9th place. So all the effort was, but nonetheless, like just an example of how judges can make us feel more comfortable just by being there.
It is a very good point, honestly. Like just taking mental notes. Yeah, very, very good point. Also, it prevents your opponent from doing something sketchy, you know?
Yeah, it's like you listen to your gut, right? Your gut was saying, I don't like this. I don't know why I don't like this, but I don't like it. Just get the judge over. Listen, I've got a feeling that something's not right here. Can you just watch? And that's a great way to approach that. You know, you're not being confrontational anyway. You just step away from the table, talk to the judge.
Yeah.
The judge is gonna just watch, and that's it. I quite like that approach.
It's what we're there for. Not that I've judged a large event for ever, but I used to be like an LGS based judge, and even then, it's what judges are there for. You know, if you feel if that spider sense is tingling, we can say it now because Spider-Man's in Magic. But if your spider sense is tingling, like
you love a segue, don't you?
You know, I love Spider-Man. Sorry, but yeah, just call the judge. You know, that's what they're there for, and especially from a sense of like, I think that people think that judges are like almost machine-like when they're new to Magic. Like, oh, this person's here for the rules. This person's here for the rules. And I've always been and a lot of judges are of the mindset they're like, you know, irregardless of how good of a judge I am, Google knows more than me. You know, I can't outsmart Google on Magic rulings. So, like, a good way to look at judges rather than rule books are more like, you know, like almost like community managers helping the community be the best community that it can be. And it all falls under something that's bad sportsmanship. You know, if you feel like your opponent is bad sportsmanship, that's something you can call a judge. And I think somebody mentioned you don't have to do it at the table as well. You can say, look, can I speak to you away from the table, please? It's about the game. And no one will have an issue with that. So if you are feeling a bit nervous of calling a judge, doesn't have to be right there in front of your opponent. It can be away to one side as well.
Yeah, very good point.
Yeah, and just to clarify, I don't think they were doing that because I was a woman, so it's not even on this topic. I think it can happen with everyone, especially at high-level tournaments. But yeah, since I was talking about the fear of calling a judge and then how I kind of overcame that fear, and I think this can be advice for anyone playing Magic, to be honest, to you know, don't be so afraid of your judges. They're there to help and to make sure that the rules run smoothly and the game goes well.
Yeah.
Did you think then? So, sort of like at that level, you know, you're grinding PTQs, you're grinding that sort of stuff. You're going into, I guess, bigger events. Would you say how different is it traveling to sort of different events as a woman? You know, because you, as a bloke, you know, I'm not really scared to go to new places or different places. I'm not really scared to bunk up with people I necessarily don't really know. I don't really have that fear or that anxiety or that, you know, what's the word, like that standoffish feeling of you know, getting accommodation with someone, traveling,
the unease.
Sorry.
The unease.
The unease, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
How as a woman, how do you approach sort of traveling to these competitive tournaments, you know, with other people, with other men, etc.? And how would that differ, do you think?
That's a good point, actually. So I'm just, you know, thinking about my personal journey.
Yeah.
So when I first started, I really wanted to fit in, you know? I really wanted to be one of the bros, but I just couldn't, you know? I just couldn't. People like, yeah, they took me into their like circle of friends, but I still wasn't the same as them, right? Like I just couldn't. And then I moved to France. I studied in France. I was alone there, so I just, you know, I went to the pre-release. I think it was my first like encounter with the local community. And just, yeah, I did so well, so people were impressed, so they reached out to me. And like this is how like my journey, my French journey began, my competitive journey in France. So we actually had traveled quite a lot together. I don't remember like actually sharing an apartment with somebody, but back then like it was okay, you know.
Yeah.
But like now I also have a different situation now. I just have a family and a husband who also plays Magic, so for me it's like
A bit easier.
not an issue
Yeah.
regarding travel. But back then, I don't know, maybe I was just, you know, too carefree.
Yeah.
You should be so carefree.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, because as a woman, you know, yeah, like you have to think about your safety. Even if you think you know the guys, like you may not know them in a certain circumstances, you know. I was just, you know, I guess I was lucky. But like if you're a woman in that situation, just, you know, don't be that careless.
You shouldn't have to be lucky though, right? Like lucky you shouldn't have to be lucky because I've not experienced this stuff. You should be. It doesn't. It like that shouldn't be the world we live in. We have to be lucky to be safe. You know.
Yeah, I agree. Because as a woman, yeah, like for you guys, of course, you just, you know, you don't even think about it. But as a woman, we go into the outside world. Well, I don't want to say like as we go to a battle, but in some ways, it feels like it, you know?
Yeah. There's always that fear. There's always that unknown aspect, right?
Yes. Especially like, I don't know, of course it depends on where you live, but if you live in a big city, you know, like this matters of safety. And of course, like when you play competitively, like Magic the Gathering, again, we talked about you're surrounded by men, you're like the only one woman. So yeah, it can be tricky. So it can be in that sense more expensive, right? So if you're about to like book a separate apartment, or I don't know, and traveling, same thing. So yeah, this can be definitely. So I think Filipa first said that word. So it can be a very lonely journey, and I didn't realize until we like spoke about it how lonely it was indeed. Because like I remember I was always trying to fit in, but yeah, like maybe because I have so many different interests that I've always found it hard to belong, you know, but I try very hard. But it's just, you know, my personal experience.
Have you sort of how's your experience been in that regard, Filipa?
Well, my experience was different because when I started playing and going to competitive events at the time, my boyfriend was playing Magic, my boyfriend at the time, and so it was easier. As Maria said, now she has a family. The husband also plays Magic, so they can go together. It's way easier and safer. But my boyfriend now, he does not play Magic. We've been together for several years now, and he doesn't have interest to come to these events. I'm lucky because a lot of the events I go to work, most of them, so they always get me an hotel, which is very nice. But if I go to play, I always think like, is it worth it for me to go to play? Because I don't want to share a room with the other guys. I will have to rent a room just for me, or if they're staying in Airbnb, I don't want to stay there with them. Not that they would do anything to me, just this is the comfortable thing, you know? I just wouldn't feel comfortable. I think they would also not feel as comfortable, which makes sense. So as Maria said, I always wanted to be part of the bros, but the truth is that we are not the bros. So and we it's not like even something that it's on purpose or it can be changed. It's just the way that it is.
Yeah.
And so for me, like, even if, for example, there's going to be an event in London that I will not be casting, so I would love to play. But because of that, I would have to go alone, spend a lot of money. For example, for Las Vegas, I'm going to MagicCon Vegas to play the PTQs, but I convinced my boyfriend to go with me, spend some time there, that way we take a bit of a trip and I play Magic in between, and he's very supportive. Because I went to Chicago alone actually, and I felt really unsafe, and it was a bit of a bad experience, but not Magic related, just like being alone in a big city. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to do this kind of travels alone anymore. I just feel unsafe in the metro and in the streets walking alone. So as Maria said, it's kind of lonely, and I just feel a big difference because my boyfriend doesn't play Magic now, and I just have a bit this more trouble playing the events, let's say.
So just so I can just regurgitate that in my head. So if you don't have someone close to you, like a boyfriend, family, etc., and you're, say, a single girl wanting to do these competitive events, then it's going to essentially be quite a lonely experience and quite a costly experience, because you can't just go and bunk up with some dudes, because you've got your specific needs, you've got your accommodation needs, etc. But also you're thinking about safety as well, which is, like we've already alluded to, blokes don't really think of. So that is something, since doing this pod.
You know what would be great?
Go on.
Sorry to interrupt you. I was just going to say that it would be great if more girls at my local game store were playing competitively and would go with me and share a hotel room with me, and just we would make company to each other, and it would feel less lonely and it would feel less scary. So that would be a solution, just to have more girls play as well.
Yeah. Now we'll have each other, Filipa.
There you go.
We can come to London. We can share a room.
There you go. The cost already got you're a bunkmate as well. That's all right.
It's a shame because it's not, like, obviously cost is a big element of Magic anyway. Magic's quite an expensive game to play. Like, set releases are pretty brutal at the moment, and we're seeing a lot. But, like, if you look at standard's been the most expensive standard format I've seen since forever, really. The only one that's pretty reminiscent to me is like when fetch lands are in standards with fetchables.
5 piles.
Yeah, 5 color, and even then, in comparison, it's not the same. Most standard decks currently outprice a modern deck, which is crazy work. 4 Riddlers, 4 Cubs, whatever else, and I'm very lucky, and I think that, like, me and Josh are lucky to be able to play Magic, or like anybody who can afford Magic are lucky to play Magic. But for London, our accommodation sorted, I'm bunking with 4 people just because that's the only way I can afford to go. Like, I'm lucky in that aspect, and honestly, having more, it's almost like having more of a financial, like, we don't need more money in Magic. Magic's already crazy expensive. But it's a shame because there have been points where, like, I've almost felt priced out. Luckily, I haven't been. But, like, it would be horrible for that to come from the accommodation side, from the travel side, just for the concept of safety. Like, it's not related, but I was chatting to my partner the other day, and I just mentioned her, like, I fell asleep on the bus today, on the way back from work, and she was like, I would never be able to do that. I would never be. And I was like, it's not even something I've ever thought of, sorry. Like, that's something that if she's tired on the way home, she can't fall asleep on the bus. And, it's that concept of safety is practically, it's a priceless thing. And it's just it's pretty horrible that, like, that's, especially when, the concept of Magic is play the game, see the world, right? And, like, there's definitely that additional cost on top as well, because, like, London in particular, I can't really speak about other places. I'm not too well traveled, but London's not cheap. Not cheap to find a place, not cheap to stay. So that's like a real aspect that, I wasn't aware of it, Josh. I'm not sure if you were prior to this.
No, it's not something I mean, obviously I've got a partner who I like to think she feels quite safe. But anything like Magic wise, I've sort of third party experience through my partner. I can remember when I've said this story a few times now on battlechads, where she was in GP Birmingham it was, and she was heavily pregnant with our son, and she was at a special seat in playing pauper side events. Lads used to come up and midway through games used to do trades and stuff and sort of mug her off in a bit, like she's like nothing, like, oh, it's a pregnant sweaty lady because it's the middle of summer, this is a buy, and then she'd smash him with a million elves in pauper, and she'd waddle away with like 3 MH1 boxes and stuff, and and I guess there's that's sort of my experience. But you said something before which I actually want to delve more into about, you've got the negative sort of discrimination of, being underappreciated, being undervalued in your game, but also, treated differently on a positive level. So the same GP, she was at the prize ticks walls and lads were just giving her boosters and stuff just because, like, oh yeah, it is a booster. And I'm just like, oh, cheers, where's mine? Kind of thing, Do you ever feel like a negative feeling when someone treats you better than, say another bloke, like a positive discrimination? Is that ever a factor? Do you ever feel awkward or different because of that?
I think I have never experienced that.
Yeah,
I kind of have, but for me it was positive. Like I don't know, like for example, when I was doing Erasmus in Lithuania, me and my boyfriend at the time, ex-boyfriend now, we were playing, we were both doing Erasmus there. We were playing at the local game store. And, I remember a guy giving me a Kiora because I was like, oh, I really want a Kiora. And he was like, really? I have one I can give you. And I don't know if it's because I'm a girl. Maybe it is. And I just felt nice because, like it was such a nice gesture. He saw that I really wanted. And then I gave him some card back. No, I have to give you something back. And I gave him. And, like I sometimes like not an inappropriate comment if it's something like giving like a little card that I wanted, like the cure was like not a crazy price or anything like that made me uncomfortable. It was just like a nice gesture. I don't know, for me it felt nice, like he was being nice. Even to this day, if I need a deck, my friends will just get me a deck on the spot. There's this sense of community. If somebody needs a deck, somebody will lend you. And I, for example, because I travel a lot, sometimes I bring a deck from Bulgaria to give to a guy that knows a guy, so it kind of pay it forward, and that's a nice thing.
Okay.
Because I was also like given decks to play, so people just lent me a whole deck to play. That was very nice, but I feel like it is more related to a community than just a random guy just so just take this card.
So you've never really felt like positively discriminated against or anything like that. It's always been, any discrimination has been sort of a negative thing, and then if it's positive, it's because it's been like the community thing, which is, treated as an equal kind of thing, which is good.
But positive discrimination. I don't know if we can say that about like guys just trying to hit up on me. I don't think that it is positive discrimination.
Trying to what? Sorry.
Trying to like flirt with me,
right, okay. Has that ever been like an obvious thing where a guy's tried to do that, during a game? Because a lot of times, like, there's cases, I suppose, in a game like Magic the Gathering, like any other sort of nerd game, where they might not even socialize with women until a woman comes into their space. Do you ever feel like there
are some guys that they just talk nonstop, and like I remember that it was very annoying, because first of all, it is a distraction, you cannot concentrate normally, so you try to behave normally, you try to just have a nice conversation, but at the same time, like I think you just have to cut it off, like like, dude, just chill. We are here to play, and like I'm not interested.
It's just I've seen that, and I've seen people have to like be, cut that, and it's one great thing about LGSs is that they're a neutral space. People should go to play Magic the Gathering, and like my favorite part of Friday Night Magic is the pint afterwards. We always go for like a pint and a chat or whatever, but like
Hell yeah.
You know, that's yeah, sure. But 1 pint's more than enough for me, I will be honest. But you know, like to me, it's like that LGS is a neutral space. I get to play Magic the Gathering against people. You know, I get to chat to people, and like it's one aspect of the game I really enjoy. And it's a shame that other people, you know, especially maybe women, can't have that same neutral space because there's always a guy who thinks he can flirt or whatever else. It's you know, it's not on really. It's definitely not on. But yeah, if you ever, I always remember one thing in particular. It was a massive RCQ in Axiom London. It was their Birmingham 25th anniversary, and it was like 100-odd player RCQ, so really big for UK standards. And somebody made a play. Well, she made a play. It was like Commandeer One Ring, so like a pretty cool play. To be fair, it was like when Belcher was becoming big, and this guy like stopped his game, looked at their game, and basically started like hooping and hollering like how sick this play is. That's a crazy play, whatever else. And she actually was just like, "We are still playing a game of competitive Magic. Can you focus on your own game, please?" And it's just like, would he have had that same reaction? Because I was also on Belcher, right, for that event, and I also had comment on my side. But I was just like thinking at the time, would he have had the same reaction if it was me who commandeered the One Ring? And the answer was probably not. Definitely not, almost. But yeah, I just like LGS as a neutral space, whereas irregardless what week you've had or what mood you're in, you can go in, pretend to be a wizard for however long during an FNM and stuff.
How do you find socializing? So Sam then alluded to socializing after events. How do you find socializing after a Magic event? Do you still feel as comfortable as you would during the day, or is there like is there sort of like an apprehension to go off and, I don't know, go drinking with a bunch of lads, or does that ever like ring in the back of your mind?
Not really. I mean, when you have an established group of friends, you
Yeah.
know, it's normal. It's
Yeah, so
okay.
yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to say one thing coming back to that, you know, to that inappropriate comments. And back then, I was not confident as I am right now. So for me, you know, it was like utterly uncomfortable for me. So I was like trying to be nice, and like the same, I was enduring this uncomfortable situation. So I felt like I couldn't say what I need to say to just, you know, stop a person doing that. And
Yeah.
I don't know, like, I'm pretty sure I'm not alone in this. So you have to have like a lot of confidence to just, you know, like shut it off. But yeah, as far as socializing goes, like if you have a group of friends, like there is no problem.
Yeah.
Like if you're alone, you're probably not gonna get invited. But if you do, I think it's nice. You know, I think it's nice still. So like I wouldn't mind.
Depends on the local game store a lot. Again, here I think the experiences can be different. For example, I had a local game store that I was going every week to play draft, and then I discovered that the guys were going to a bar after, like, and we were always like the same kind of people drafting, like 10, 12 people, like recurring every week, and I would consider them like my friends at that point, and then I discovered they were going to the bar and they were not inviting me, just me because I'm a girl. And I had the completely opposite experience where when I moved to Bulgaria, the first night I went to play Magic, I didn't have any friends, and they were like, "Let's go have. Do you wanna have dinner with us? Go out with us?" And I went out with them. They were super nice, not inappropriate. They were so welcoming. I made terrific friends that like they were so nice. To this day I see them all the time, and I just like it really depends, you know? Like
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
every experience is different. Once again, you can have very good experiences with people and some really bad ones.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, yeah. we can talk about, like, we can move on to, you know, another
Sure.
subject, probably.
So I think just to like, before we move on to the last sort of bit that I think we should talk about is, you know, to conclude, to sort of like summarize everything we've said, and you know, some of the points that I've gathered from what you said is, you know, not all experiences are unique. Not all men are bad, kind of thing. But it's having that inclusion is so important, because the more inclusive you are as a community and as a person individually, you have more people to play Magic against, right? And then the community grows, and we've had the troubles in Wizards and Standard and Cost and all that stuff. If you're inclusive and welcoming, that's just one less issue to sort of play the game that people are so passionate about. I mean, my personal growth, when I first started playing Magic, like, I didn't have a filter. Like, I was completely militarized, like, bro humor, like, probably said a million inappropriate things. And it started to realize, until I started getting into this community and thinking, actually, I am not around skinhead bootnecks. I am not around, males all the time. I've got to think about what I say, what I do, how I speak. My humor isn't appropriate. The humor I displayed then isn't appropriate in this environment, which made me grow as a person overall, into my professional life, into my, family life. And I'm now my dad since then, having a female care about her home, like that sort of makes me grow, and my attitudes change. And that's helped me through, Magic, through talking to people like yourselves, through doing content creation, through just generally like growing up a little bit. And I think these tools sort of inclusion helped me personally in that, and I think it can help the community grow together. I think. Sort of agree with that.
Yeah, for sure. So, first of all, men are not bad. So, we have never said that, and it's not the point of it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just we are talking about women in this male-dominated space.
Yeah.
Spread awareness. And I feel like we cannot talk about inclusivity without talking about VML and Sanctum of All, like this huge community within Magic the Gathering community. That is super inclusive. It is open literally for anyone, and it has been like a great part of my personal journey as well. It's because I played VML Championship, and I can tell you, like, these people are like pros. It is super competitive. At the same time, it is very inclusive. So this is like the goal for the Magic community as a whole, So it's a good thing that VML and, well, now Sanctum exists. So because Sanctum took VML in, basically, and Sanctum of All serves both as a community and as a team, as a pro team. So now it is kind of separate, but still. So it's definitely a very good thing, a very positive thing in our community, that those people of marginalized genders, like me included, we feel safe in that space. So we know that we are going to be heard, that we're going to be taken seriously, and like people surrounding us are going to help us achieve our goals ultimately. But at the same time, probably like it shouldn't be an issue at all. So our ultimate goal is for Magic the Gathering community as a whole to become this Sanctum of All, right? You know what I mean?
I'll put links. So Maria, if you send me links to any of that stuff, I will attach the show notes so people can have a look. If anyone who sort of feels like it appeals to them, who are listening, then you'll have the links down below. I sort of think we should sort of wrap it up, and I think the best way to wrap it up would be to sort of give the listeners, or highlight listeners, tools in which you could potentially use this situation, whether it be for good or for bad, on a competitive level. Maybe use as the wrong phrase, but I think as a woman, as you two are, how would you, if you are, I don't know, against someone who is obviously taking you for not for granted, underestimating you as a competitive player? Is that something you could? How do you use that feeling to then up your competitive game? Do you use that way to up your competitive game?
Yeah, for example, I can speak for me. It was like one of the things that in the beginning I lost a lot. I think everyone that starts playing Magic loses a lot, and I think that's where the barrier happens. And I think maybe a lot of the girls start playing, they are not very good because nobody is in the beginning. People make some snarky comments that it's because they are girls, then they never show up again and they never cross that barrier to become good. And when I started to be more confident and actually winning, I think that started to give me more like, I want to do this more. I want to prove them wrong. Like, I want them to feel like they, when these people that think they're just entitled to win because you're a girl and you should be bad, and then suddenly you win against them and it feels good, and you just want to have that that feeling. Like, winning feels good, it's addicting. And I think that that especially when you go against an opponent that underestimates you, makes you even want to become better and to just win more.
At the same time, it hurts more when you lose to a person like that. Like, you're not a good person, first of all, and like, now you get to prove your point that I'm like worse than you, but I'm not. It's just, I'm just as good as anybody else, except that, I'm a woman and your opponent may be a man. So yeah, at the beginning I had the exact same feeling. I had this fire lit within me. I had to prove them wrong. So that was my motivation. But ultimately, if you think about it, it's not a good thing. Like, it shouldn't be.
No.
So you don't have to win to be respected. Like, this is like the craziest thing. And I was feeling it like quite a lot. Almost like every time I enter tournament, I had this extra pressure that I have to win to be respected, to be seen, to be like, I don't know, to be accepted ultimately, and like, it shouldn't be the case. Like, other guys, they just, they're respected because they exist. Because they're like anybody else. So I think I deserve the same, of course. So I don't have to feel that extra pressure.
I mean, a good example is last week.
I agree with you, Maria.
Yeah.
On the episode of Myra, I haven't won an FNM in over a year. And I've never had to worry about, that sort of stuff. And honestly, I think that's like, if you see people, your community is as strong as you allow it to be, I think is a really important thing to discuss. And if there is somebody who isn't good, isn't great, comes across as maybe doesn't like losing to female players or women and stuff, like it's on the community to resolve that problem, really. But not in the sense that, like, people can deal with different sort of things in different ways. It's not about confrontation, but like, if you know that person, take them to one side, talk to them, say like, this isn't on. Like, I feel like we've said that, like, people put way too much sometimes emotionally into Magic, like, so therefore whatever else. And I think that if you know that person, talk to them privately. Like, that's on the community to call out. And also, if you don't know them, raise it to the TO. If you know the TO, raise it to them. And there's plenty of ways you can approach it, but it's not really acceptable in any form, irregardless of gender or whatever else. And it's on that community to resolve that problem. I'm a firm believer of, like, I used to work as a TO. I worked in LGSs for close to like 7 years of my life. And, like, TOs are there to be spoken to, or a good TO should be, I think, raising problems privately and such.
How do you feel about, individual players, say as a woman, you feel like there's been a comment or something said against you, or even if you've overheard a comment or something said to someone else, how do you feel about individuals challenging the individual who's making those jokes or comments? Do you think that should be encouraged, or do you think the better way is to go to the TO or to the judge?
It depends. Back then, again, when I started playing Magic, and like, okay, let's talk about me, like 10, 15 years ago, I was not a confident person at all. So my approach was fake until you make it.
Okay.
So I was non-confrontational person at all. So I would just, swallow it,
Yeah.
ignore it. Like, of course, it hurt me, but ultimately, I would do nothing about it. It just,
Yeah.
it saddened me. Now I'm more like, let's go.
Yeah.
You have a problem with me?
Oi, you.
We're gonna talk.
I love that, Maria. Good for you. I love that.
But as a player, if you've like me back in the day when I had that military humor and I came and may have said something and and someone's challenged, say me for example, or a player, you're the person to be challenged. I think it should be said that take that challenge on board and see it as a lifeline, because someone's given you the opportunity then to grow, someone's given you the opportunity then to learn, and if you then continue to make those comments or jokes or whatever or behaviors, then you should be prepared to have a TO speak to you or potentially getting banned from your LGS, or take that player challenging you as almost like a gift and a learning experience, to be like, right, they've told me now, I sort of know where the line is, I know where the bar is, let's not cross it because I've been told, and this is my lifeline, this is my opportunity to just be better, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I feel like, yeah, if you are a male, of course, and if you hear something inappropriate being said, just, yeah, call them out. You just have, again, be a normal human being. Like, behave as you normally would around, like,
just be human.
Yeah, because, for the change to happen in a space like that, where we talk about majorities and minorities, so majority has to step in and has to initiate this change, because like me and Filipa, we can talk about it all we want, but again, being here on your podcast, on the guys podcast, right, talking about these issues,
Yeah.
like this what sparks the conversation, and this is what ultimately leads to this change. And like, we can, yeah, it starts from local game store, and I'm not saying that it ends like here on your guys podcast,
of
but
course, yeah.
it is, like different levels.
I think as well from
Yeah,
sorry, go on, Philippa.
I was just going to say that I agree with Maria, and part of me kind of like feels a bit out of touch now because I've been creating content for 6 years, and I feel like my experience after creating content is very different. Like, some people recognize me now when I go to my local game store. Sometimes even in pre-release, somebody's like, "Oh, I know you from streaming," and then they beat me, and they're like, "Oh my god, I'm going to tell all my friends that I beated a streamer." And it's not like I beat a girl; it's like I beated a streamer. Like, they're so happy. It's like I felt when I beated, like, like some pro player in a arena or something. I tell all my friends. So I feel like my experience now is a bit skewed towards the benefits, let's say, of being recognized within the Magic community. And I mean, I know that a lot of females that are playing maybe have a very different experience than I do. And also the way that people treat me can be skewed without me realizing, because they recognize me from creating Magic content. So again, like, that's why I think perspectives can vary a lot.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Depending on where they're playing or if they are known or not in the Magic community and so on.
I guess it's at the point now where someone's sitting next to opposite one of you two, they'll feel intimidated and shy and might have to call a judge to come watch them because they're nervous. I would say though, like, from a guy's perspective, how can you use this conversation to gain something competitively? And I'd suggest, or the advice that I would give is to never underestimate your opponent. Because if you underestimate your opponent, you'll play more loosely, you'll play less smartly because you expect to win and feel you might deserve to win. No one deserves to win a game of Magic, just FYI. But as a guy who's sat next to opposite a female or whoever, and feels like, oh, this is a buy. It could be like opposite my big old pregnant girlfriend or whoever. Don't underestimate your opponent ever, and that will insulate you from making stupid mistakes and from ultimately punting games because you've not appreciated your opponent. as you should.
For sure.
You know that sometimes Magic does a great job at humbling you up.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. You know,
my advice would just be to listen to people. You know, like I think you know, the idea of somebody pulling you quietly to one side and be like, good. I think the moment somebody's challenged, the automatic response is to be defensive. You know, like, well, I didn't say anything wrong, right? It was a joke. It wasn't meant as anything. And I think that, like, rather than be reactive, just listen. You know, like that's the best way to improve and get better. Really, is to listen to other perspectives. And if somebody you respect or you know your TO is telling you something, it's probably best to listen. And you know, it might suck to hear, and it was never meant as a negative intention, but you don't decide how the things you say are received.
I guarantee
you decide the things you say, right?
Yeah, I guarantee the situation will end as soon as you say, "I apologize. I'm sorry. I won't do it again," rather than arguing.
And just while we're on the topic, you know, I've remembered I used to be a TO. I've got a flood of nightmares coming back to me. LGSs are also just as general are places for families and kids as well. You know, like it's not just a space for adults. So like, don't say weird stuff.
Mate, I used to run the gaming community around where I live. I did it for a couple of years, and the stuff you wouldn't even think of.
I know.
It's like I could tell you stories, but like not related to this. Other things that I'm not going to go into because I'll spiral off topic. But yeah, like
doesn't sound like
just
you,
the family. Yeah, just the family thing. You know, it is a PG environment. You know,
for sure.
Cool. Any afterburners you want to cover? Maybe shout outs or anything like that you want to do before I hand it over to Sam to sort of end the pod? I think it's been a really good conversation, actually.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. Maybe I could just give a last comment, which is something that I approach playing against people. I think I don't have many opponents that can complain on the way that I've treated them playing. I hope not, at least. I strive to be a good opponent, and the way that you lose and that you win tells a lot about you. Just think that the person that you play against is going through their own struggles. You never know what they're going through. They came to play to have fun. So be kind, you know, just be nice, just be a good person. You both have something in common. You love this game. Winning or losing doesn't matter that much in the end of the things. And I don't know, just be nice. Just be a nice person. Come on.
Yeah, totally. And, you know, this thing that you can actually see is when you go to some sort of big tournament or like MagicCon, and you just see there are so many different people of different genders, of different looks. And despite them being so different, they have one thing in common. Guess what it is? It is love for the game, love for Magic the Gathering, right? So yeah, when you're playing something competitive, just, you know, be good sportsmanship, respect your opponent, be kind, be nice, but also, you know, make sure that you can stand up for yourself too, like in situations like that. So my advice, like generally for local game store level, just be proactively nice to all the new players, women especially. And yeah, just be a normal human being. This is my
don't be a creep.
My advice.
It reminds, I got done for speeding. Well, I've got done for speeding twice, but I got done for speeding once. And in England, you have to do, if you get caught within a certain limit, you can do a speed awareness course, which is like a day-long course. So you know, the consequences of speed and all that. And the guys who came out, they said, you know, you're all here, you all don't know each other, but you've all got one thing in common. You've all been caught speeding, so it's, you know, it just reminded me of that. It's funny. But yeah, you've all got one thing in common when you go to a Magic event. Cool. Sam, do you want to take us away?
Yeah, of course. Josh's petty crimes aside.
Yeah.
Thank you, Filipa and Maria. Thank you very much for coming on and chatting about Magic. It's one thing we love to chat about, and we're really lucky to be able to have a platform to discuss this issue. So thank you very much. Really appreciate you guys coming on. In terms of links. We will have links to Maria and Filipa's socials in the comments and the notes and all that. So please go check them out. In terms of us, thank you again. You know, me and Josh, more so Josh, put a lot of effort into battlechads. So if you've enjoyed today or you're a new listener, please like, comment, share with somebody who may enjoy it, and subscribe. YouTube is a really, really brutal algorithm, and I know it sounds silly, but engaging with that content really helps it on YouTube and such. So if there's any questions or anything like that, or if you're on the same speed awareness course as Josh was, just leave a comment in the video. And yeah, anything else, Josh, or we moving on to see you next time?
I think that's it. Yeah.
Perfect. See you next time. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Thank you so much,
Bye.
guys. It was so good.
You.
Bye bye.